What's up, y'all? I have been trying my darndest to get this video to you all, but between three kids, one crying, one needs food, one needs somebody always just needs something random, it's been a struggle, but I'm here. We got no makeup, no contacts, but we're here, y'all. So, I am here to give you my top tips for flying with three kids under 6. Tip number 1, be intentional with your packing. All right, so with being intentional with your packing, the biggest thing for me, and I'm talking about packing like your carry on, your backpack. The biggest thing for me is making sure that everything is accessible and easy to get to. So, trying to be intentional with how I put things in my bag, in my kids' bags, in my husband's bag, so that we can be able to snatch and grab what we need, because you really don't have a lot of space on the plane. And if you're an anxious traveler like me, you just want to know that you got what you need. So I don't want to pack 3 outfits and then I've got one left, because then I'm going to be like, oh my God, are we going to make it? So I'd rather just pack 5. And if that's not your style, that's not your style. But when I'm traveling, I like to have a little bit more than what I need. That way I'm not ever stuck. So I will show you guys that video. The big things you're gonna see is diapers, wipes, like I said, oh, and a wet bag. Wet bags come in clutch for the blowouts and the spit up and all that jazz. So here you go. So let's get into this Itsy Ritzy baby bag. It's got a giant back pocket where I typically will store like my shirt that I keep just in case I get spit up on. I actually hack. I just get a really big shirt because I don't mind wearing a bigger shirt. So I get one that me and my husband can fit. And then as far as her clothes go, it's got 4 large interior pockets. Itsy Ritzy does not miss. And so you can fit about 2 or 3 outfits in there. Right now she's in like 3-ish, 6-ish month clothes. And I can fit about 2 to 3 outfits per pocket. You also, as they get bigger, you can still easily fit a whole outfit in each of those pockets, which is fantastic. I also have in here a whole outfit. Like that's what I'm touching right now is a jumpsuit. So that's a hoodie, bottoms, a onesie, and a bib. I've also got swaddles in there. And then I've got my wet bags at the bottom zipped pocket. And then at the top zip pocket is where I keep the burping cloths and the bibs. So right now you don't see any diapers and wipes, because what's going to happen is as I zip up the baby bag, I just didn't record this part. As I zip up the baby bag, I actually put the diapers and wipes right there on top of where the swaddle and her outfit are. And it fits it all, y'all. Tip number 2, plan for them to fall apart. All right, planning for them to fall apart. I love my tiny besties, as I call them, but they've all got different personalities, and trying to get them to conform in any capacity can be a thing. And I feel like if you have children, you know that. So trying to get them to understand the rules, the regulations, to understand that, like, listen, I understand you see Chick-fil-A and you want Chick-fil-A, but we don't have time to get Chick-fil-A because the plane boards in X amount of minutes, or whatever it is that might trigger your tiny one to fall apart. If they're on the plane and they want to get up and walk around, and it's like, we can't really do that right now. Plan for them to fall apart. And granted, there's only but so much you can do, but what I found helpful is trying to get rest between me and my husband, one of us having enough rest so that the other one can try to rest on the plane, divvying up the kids on the plane, but whatever you got to do so that you can be close to your best self as possible, so that you've got the patience for them when they're throwing the tantrum, so that you've got the emotional capacity to help them with the tantrum. Or whatever it is that happens when they fall apart. For me, when I say fall apart, I'm thinking tantrums. I don't think I like that. Okay. With the plan for them to fall apart, this is just as much this is just as much you as it is them, right? If you're tired and they're tired, and you're hungry and they're hungry, that little tantrum can get real big real fast. So to the degree that you can, try to make sure that you're rested, that you have your favorite snack or whatever to keep you in a calm headspace, and then make sure that you've got whatever will help you get through their tantrums. And every kid's tantrums is different, every kid's meltdown is different, but whatever will help you get through that. if it's a special stuffy, if it's a snack, if it's a special water or a juice or whatever it is that will help them calm down and de-escalate. And then also just knowing what their triggers are and then trying to avoid those. So for one of my kiddos, their trigger is being sleepy. So when we pick our flights, we have to be careful with that, which is why that's one of my tips coming later. But also understanding that it might be early and they might be tired. So I'm not going to ask them to do too much, because I know giving them too many directions when they're half asleep is just going to cause them to melt down. So just be prepared for it. Like, yes, you're going to try to circumvent it, but if you're prepared for them to have the meltdown, you won't be surprised when it happens. You'll have more patience to get through it. And I personally have found that's been a lifesaver. Tip number 3, entertain them. So, entertaining them. I try to be a mom that is very intentional with everything that I do with my kids. My husband and I both try to be that way. But there are certain moments when it is simply a matter of survival. And traveling is one of those for us. So when I'm on a plane, whatever you need to keep your tiny body in this little seat for this 5.5, 6 hour flight, fine. I'll be a good parent when the plane lands. Like, you want the extra fruit snacks, eat the extra fruit snacks. You want the high fructose corn syrup snack, eat it. You want to watch the same show 12 times, do it. Because I do not have the capacity nor the physical space to wrangle you. And it's hard to sit on a plane for that long. If you've got a shorter flight, I still think that this very much applies. But if you're someone who's doing international flights or East Coast to West Coast flights, which we've had to do with 2 and 3 children, yeah, you just want them to be comfortable. So we let them use their tablets, which they call tabbies, and we download shows for them. And even if you don't have a tablet for your kid, I mean, honestly, you might have to give your kid your phone. Like, that might be your entertainment source, but you might have to decide. Like, maybe y'all share it, maybe they get it, and you just take a nap, whatever you gotta do, you know? Also, something that's really cool that my husband did that I have found really helps the kids on our flights is we get them a new toy specifically for the flight. So it's, you know, and it doesn't have to be an expensive toy. It can be a little $4 or $5 toy from Five Below, Dollar General, wherever you want to get it from, right? But something that they can be excited about to play with on the plane. And that has been a lifesaver. And that works for my son and my daughter that are 4, 5, 6, right? When they were in that age bracket, those tips got us through. With the younger ones, like when they're crawling, they're walking, they're not really full blown, like big toddlers, just so kind of little, we found it really helpful to, again, bring them toys, but bring different toys. So I had a bunch of little cheap toys, and I actually put them, do I have one over here? I had the little school supply pouches. So like the little clear, little dollar school supply pouches. And I bought like magnetiles, cars. I don't know what was in the other one, but just little small toys for my kiddos. And I had them in the little baggies. That way I had them sectioned out and I clipped them to the baby bag. And that was a lifesaver, because that way I could take it and let them play with it. And then when they started to get bored, I could clean it up and give them the next thing and just kind of rotate through it. And that, like I said, you try to keep them entertained. I have seen parents that have gotten on flights with their like 1, 2-year-old and had nothing to amuse them, and I have felt bad for them and been like, do you want some of the toys that we brought? Like, do you want to share the tablet? Like, because it gets tricky, especially when you're on a long flight. If it's a short flight, you can kind of just muscle your way through it, but for those 4, 5, 6 hour flights, like I said, whatever will keep them calm and content and in their seat goes. Tip number 4, pack snacks for you and for them. If you are flying with an infant and you bottle feed, you can actually have them either warm up, like bring you warm water, or you can have them warm up bottles for you, and it's super helpful. Once they're older, I brought, again, when I tell you anything goes, I brought whatever their favorite snacks were or things that were going to be exciting, right? And I'm not against a little bribery. So it's like, hey, you know, if you can keep calm for the next 30 minutes, I'll give you whatever this fruit snack is. Like, whatever will keep them at bay. And so I like the lunch boxes with the little clips on them. So when our kids were smaller and we could get away with smaller snacks, I would pack like applesauces, like the little yogurts, goldfish, whatever it is that they like. And for the most part, as long as it's not a pure liquid, you're good. Like your applesauce and your little yogurt pouches, TSA isn't gonna bother you about those. So it was awesome to be able to just feed them snacks, keep them happy. Because most of the time, kids aren't gonna eat what they serve on the airplane. And even if it's an international flight, a lot of times, I mean, I'm not even a huge fan of the food, so the kids aren't gonna eat it. Also, if you have a small kiddo, I know personally I can say around like the 1-ish range, so a little younger than 1, a little older than 1, and you've got like the little baby foods, or like the little, I don't know what they're called, like little Gerber meals, or Happy Baby organic meals, you can ask them to warm those up for you. So like they will go put it in the microwave for you, which is amazing. Tip number 5, carefully consider your flight time. Considering your flight time is huge for me because that is the biggest way to have a peaceful travel. And there is no perfect time, because I find it depends on your kid. It's always probably the scariest part about traveling with kids for me, because I'm always like, did I pick the right time? Because you don't know till you get on the flight. The last time that we traveled, we had the 1-month-old, 1.5-month-old, my 4-year-old daughter, and my almost 6-year-old son, so still 5. And we picked a flight that went out at 7 a.m. We had to get up to leave to go to the airport at like 3:45. We woke them up at 4. What we did beforehand was we let them run around, play. We like kept them moving, and then we put them to bed early. We did give them melatonin, I think, just to make sure that they crashed, which is, Ollie has some kids melatonin that is fantastic. And if you don't want to give your kids melatonin, just run them ragged, let them play at the park, whatever you got to help them get their energy out. And then we woke them up, and we of course let them sleep in the car, and then we kind of explained to them like, all right, yo, we know you're tired, we just got to get through this and this, and then you can go to sleep on the plane. And we found that worked. They napped for most of the plane. Most of the plane flight. My son was super excited, so he was just excited to have his tablet and toys and to be able to eat whatever snacks he wanted. So he didn't really sleep until almost the end of the flight. But my daughter, who does not play by her sleep, crashed, and then she woke up closer to the flight being over, probably the last 2 hours, and that's when she was using her tablet, playing with her toys, eating her snacks. So that really worked. With babies, unless you have a baby that's very particular about how they go to sleep, that's honestly the easiest time to fly with them, because they're going to need the same things. They're going to need food and for you to hold them. And that's literally the only thing you can do with them on the plane anyway. Tip number 6, prep your kids in advance. So the reason that I say prepping your kids in advance is awesome is because on my life-saving tips, right? Even though the order doesn't match what I think is the highest priority, sorry. Picking your flight times, I think, like I said, is one of the biggest mitigators for having issues. But the number 2 one is most definitely going to be prepping them. And I'm a teacher, so obviously I'm like, let's amp it up. But seriously, if you tell your kids, like, we're going to go and wherever the destination is, right? Like, make it exciting. And if it's not exciting, you can still find something because they're little. So the exciting thing might be like, we're going to go to a different Chick-fil-A. Yeah, maybe there's a completely other reason you went there, but they're little. Take advantage of that. And honestly, it helped them understand, like, we're going to go to an airport, and talk to them about what it is. Like, we're going to go to an airport, and we're going to have our special backpacks, and we're going to whatever, and we're going to get on the plane. And then when we get on the plane, we always explain to the kids. Now our 4 and 6-year-old, they've traveled on planes so many times, we don't have to prep them. But before, we would tell them, like, okay, so now we've got our seats, and the plane's gonna get ready to take off, and it's gonna go really fast, it's gonna rumble and shake, and like we would make all the things that might scare them exciting, like, oh, do you feel the rumbling? Look, we're taking off, instead of it being like, oh, what's that's happening? And so then when they would announce, like, okay, we're gonna prepare for landing, we would tell the kids, like, all right, the plane's gonna get ready to land, and look, and you can see the wing of the plane. And if they're like 1 or 2 years old, they might not care about that, but it still helps to tell them, like, oh, the plane's gonna take off, are you ready? And like, the plane's gonna land. But just give them something, some type of communication, so that they understand, right? Number 7, plan to take extra time. Take extra time. Listen, you can plan, you can prep, but life is gonna life. And that's why I say just plan extra time. Typically as a flyer, I give myself 2 hours from when the plane takes off to get to the airport, because for those of you that don't know, if let's say your flight takes off at 11, it's gonna board 30 to 40, sometimes 50 minutes before it takes off. And the doors typically close anywhere from 10 to 15 minutes before the plane takes off. So you can't get there at like 10:59 to the gate and then be like, I'm gonna get on the plane. That's not gonna work. You're gonna do that and the gate's gonna be closed and you're not gonna be able to get in. So with kiddos, those tantrums I talked about, somebody needs to go pee, somebody had a blowout, you never really know what's going to happen. So give yourself a little bit of extra time. And as far as what the extra time can look like, I honestly would say that depends on the number of kids you have. When we flew with one and they were tiny, we just gave ourselves, another 20-ish minutes. But now that we've got 3 kids, when we got ready to go, we're like, all right, let's just go ahead and tack an extra 30 minutes onto that. You don't need to be exorbitant. You don't need to do an extra hour, but like another 30 minutes, just in case, like I said, somebody's got to go pee. Somebody falls apart while you're going through TSA. Last but not least, tip number 8, infant carriers, travel system strollers can be your best friend. All right, so the last one with the infant carriers, that really depends on your baby, but some type of system to help you get through that airport. So our oldest 2 are 15 months apart. If you've heard me say the ages, you probably picked up on that. So we had an amazing Joovy Stroller, and it was the 2-seater. So that was a lifesaver. So I didn't carry them when they were that age. I just put them both in the stroller, kept it going. You can check your stroller in at the gate, or you can check it in when you check in your bags. I typically took it all the way with me to the gate, because you don't have to pay for it either way. And so they would just label it for you, and then that way you've got something to keep your kids contained all the way until you get ready to board the plane. And then when you get off the plane, you can pick up your stroller and put your kiddos back in it. Sometimes they will take your stroller to baggage claim, and I'm sorry if they do that to you. Typically you're supposed to be able to pick it back up at the next gate. I have used the infant carrier, so this go around, I had, like I said, 4 and an almost 6-year-old. I didn't need a stroller, and I only had one tiny person, so it made more sense to me to carry her. So when I had one kid, I carried them through the airport, and then when I had the other 2 and the new baby, I also put her in the carrier because it allowed me to have 2 free hands. And I used the Tula baby carrier. I love them to pieces. They actually have like a Tula baby lite carrier that I used this go round. That was super helpful because it folded back down into a fanny pack, because it's the only struggle with the regular size Tula babies is they are super padded and comfortable. You can wear them for hours, but when you take it off, you don't really have a way to like compactly put it anywhere. So you just kind of got this big carrier just kind of hanging on you. But the smaller one was actually just as comfortable. I was fine going through the airport. I didn't try it on a bigger baby. She was about 10 pounds. So if you got a bigger baby, keep that in mind. But the fact that I could put her in it, and then if I need to take her out, I could fold it, put it in my fanny pack, zip the fanny pack, and then take it back out, and like I didn't have something extra, was amazing. And so those are great because I know, at least for the Tula babies, they've got a little spot for you to put your phone or your keys or whatever. And so then I truly was hand-free. I had my baby bag because I have a backpack baby bag. I do encourage you to get a backpack style baby bag if you're traveling. So I had that on my bag, baby on the front, but I was ready to rock and roll, and I had my 2 hands free to corral the other 2 kids. All right, y'all, those were all of my helpful tips that I could think of so that you can have a successful flight with your children, 3 under 6 or however many you got. If you think that I missed a step, or if you've got a helpful tip for all of us, please share. I would love to hear from you. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one. Be blessed.